All right, welcome back to Her Circle. And today we're so excited. We have our first official guest with us. First guest, Chelsey Coleman Sullivan.
Yes.
And when Chandler and I were originally discussing the kind of message and everything that we wanted to have behind Her Circle, we were thinking about women in our life that we've looked up to, and we see them constantly uplifting everyone around them. Mm-hmm. And I would confidently say Chandler and I both immediately thought of Chelsey.
Yeah, very quick on. We both were saying that. We thought you would be someone that we would love to have on.
Yeah. We grew up going to gymnastics and watching Chelsey train as hard as she possibly could, probably every single day. And so we just kind of wanted to share some memories that we have of you.
Okay.
All good things.
Yes.
Yeah. No bad things.
Yeah. So my first experience going to Desert Devils, I went to go tour the gym with my mom, and Chelsey walked past in her leotard, and I went, I have to go here. This is where I need to be.
Fun.
That truly is a true story. And if you ask my mom, she will totally agree that we saw you and thought, okay, this is the place to be. Chelsey's got an incredible physique. She is an IFBB Pro, and she continues to work on her physical body, and she just constantly looks amazing. Yeah. She looks strong. Another fun kind of story, I don't know if you remember this, is we went to the mall together and you were wearing a tank top, and you said to all of us before we went in, everyone is going to stare at me, so just ignore it. I'm totally used to it. It's fine. And we're like, oh, okay. Yeah. Sure enough, every person we walked past just looking at you, looking at your buff arms. And Chelsey briefly, my brother was lucky enough to briefly date Chelsey.
Lucky enough, yes.
For a hot second.
I love that so much.
She was in our house quite a bit. I think, didn't we drive you up to Utah for college?
Drove me back from after
drove
my
you
injury.
back.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I remember there was a long car ride with Chelsey. So I felt like we had some close moments growing up, and I was always so excited anytime you came over and we got to spend time with you, and that was fun for me.
What dance did you go to? Didn't you go to
it should have been homecoming?
Homecoming?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to that.
Seeing
with her and my brother.
Seeing that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what year that would have been, or how old we would have been.
I think he was a senior.
Okay.
I think I was a junior.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's wild that we were talking about having you on. I was like, it's weird to think that since I was 8 years old, I have known you. Mm-hmm. And so we were the younger girls, and you guys were that group that everyone looked up to. So I think it's cool, as kids, we didn't walk around telling you guys those things oh, hey, we look up to you. Oh, we think you're so cool. We never so now it's kind of fun to be able to tell you that. Mm-hmm. As a kid, it was you guys are so cool, and you guys, the things you were doing, and you guys were always very welcoming to us. You guys were never oh my gosh, these little kids. I'm no, we were lucky to train with you guys. It was cool to be in the same environment, and see you guys push yourself and work towards things and see what you guys are capable of doing, in hopes that one day it's oh, hopefully we can do that. Mm-hmm. So I think it's super cool to be able to have that conversation and tell you that it's you guys are somebody that as kids that it was so cool to be in the same room and see you guys do your thing, and be able to be going to college and be oh, I knew her. Mm-hmm. She trained at the same gym, little things like that. Yeah. I think it's so cool to be able to tell you that now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a nice surprise, you guys. That's sweet. Yeah. Yeah. And we were just in the middle of it back then. So
yeah.
And we didn't think of it that way either.
You guys were just in the
gym.
Yeah.
Doing it.
In the zone, focused in. It's and I wasn't even at that level like you guys were. And I think about how consuming it was. So I can't even imagine for you guys, that was everything, the time spent. It was, did you guys at some point did you homeschooling, or did you guys stay in school the whole time?
I chose to stay in school.
Okay.
Some of the other girls, they did. And then Jeff even had a school up on the second level. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to stay social.
Have something, yeah.
And it was a good balance. It was fine. Some way or another. I don't know how they did it as adults, but they were able to tell the school, like, hey, she just needs to be there for 2 hours and that's it. By my senior year, I think I only needed to do 2 hours actually. And so that worked out well. But before that, I have no idea how they got away with us not having to take certain classes.
Yeah.
It's all right. But that's the way I see it. But they had to have done something behind the scenes for me to only go to school for like 3, maybe not even 4 hours.
Yeah. I remember they used to be able to like turn in the gym hours as like physical education credit.
I know they could do that, but that's only like one.
That's only one class.
And I think I do remember taking some online at home.
Okay.
Yeah. So
doing some like extra on the side.
Again, everything is such a blur sometimes that I did forget about that. I did take, I think, social studies and started in 8th grade.
Okay.
That I started taking online stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Did you guys, when you were still in school, like you said, high school, you went a couple hours, were you guys doing 2-a-days, like morning school, like gym in the morning, school, and then gym in the afternoon, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll remember that one. That was 4:45 in the morning to like say 7:30. And then we'd have to be at school at 8. And then we'd be done around, I don't think we would ever go to lunch because we would we'd have to eat. So I think we did do lunch and maybe there was a class afterwards. And then we'd head back to gym from like 2 to 8.
Wow.
Or 2 to 7, something like that. And if we didn't get stuff done, our parents would gladly let us stay there till later.
Happily.
Happily let us finish our assignment when we're tired. Homework still to do.
Yeah. And that was 5 days a week?
Geez, I couldn't say. I want to say Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday mornings. Yeah.
I remember Saturday mornings, but our Saturday mornings weren't, it was like, I want to say it was like 6 to 9-ish. Like I feel like it was a couple hours. And then we had that couple hours in between and then we went back. That's the only 2 days I remember. It was only Saturdays and that was enough. Like I couldn't imagine doing before school and after school. But I did know when I lived with you guys, 8th grade at Stapley, I left early to go, but it was like the one class, like how you could do or 2 classes or something. Or
they continued taking you guys to Stapley. Yeah. We weren't supposed I wasn't in the school zone for that or the.
Oh, that's right. But you went
think
to
I was
Mountain
supposed
View,
to
right?
go to I don't know, but they switched me to Stapley, then moved over to Mountain View.
Okay.
Obviously after that, but I can't think of the high school I was supposed to be at.
Yeah, I would have done Mountain View. Well, it depended on where we lived, but we didn't live in Mountain View. But I think we would have tried to figure out because it's all about the zonings, right? Like all that. Yeah. So I guess it would have depended because I think technically I was in the zoning would have been Red Mountain.
Maybe.
Is that
that sounds right? Yeah.
So, but I think most of the people I feel like in the group was still like mainly Mountain View was like the main. But I think I might be wrong, but I feel like I remember Sheridan and Melissa might have been Red Mountain.
I don't know.
I think they were. So it might have worked out. I mean, I guess you can tell them I'm only coming to school for 3 hours and you made it work to wherever.
Yeah. And you're good.
You were doing online stuff. So that's pretty crazy to think.
So you had your high school career in gymnastics and then you went to train at the University of Utah on a full ride.
Yeah.
So you were just telling us your first year in, you had a knee injury and that pretty much ended your career in gymnastics. Yeah. So how did you have to work towards shifting your identity from being in this gymnastics world and a gymnast to kind of coming out of that and continuing on with your life?
That was difficult, very difficult. And thinking back on it, I was in a pretty dark place. In the moment, didn't even realize how dark I was. So had to get some help. And they got me through a lot of stuff. It's hard being only knowing gymnastics, never having a job, and then throwing you out into the world, not even by choice. So, got some help. And through that, they were like, you need to release endorphins. Like that was the biggest thing, I guess, that came about with it. Not because I was lost. They were like, you are so used to training, so used to flipping, adrenaline rush, and then boom, stopped. So I was looking for outside sources to become, to get that same feeling, which was not the best choices. And so that stopped pretty quick once they're like, get to the gym. I was
Mhm.
like, okay. So I did. First thing I do is I walk into a gym. My very first time, I go start on an elliptical because I'm like, I don't know where to go and what to do. And no joke, that same exact day, a trainer comes up to me and says, have you ever competed? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, no. He's like, bodybuilding. And I was like, no. I'm like, I used to look at it and watch it and
Mhm.
pretty interested in it when I was little, but no time for it. And so he goes, well, let's do a show. And I'm like, sure.
Mhm.
I'm like, it just worked out how it was supposed to. And even though he wasn't the coach that I ultimately ended up with, because it can be a pretty feisty industry, I found the coach that I love and I stuck with him for a good 10 years.
wow.
It was a good team
Mhm.
and I was lucky for that. But I also had a lot of knowledge and coaches and
Mhm.
who's good for you and not good for you. And unfortunately, and I think in the bodybuilding industry, as young ladies, they get swept in and they go the wrong direction. But again, gymnastics gave me the knowledge of what's good and bad.
Mhm.
And I was lucky enough to find a very good coach
Mhm.
and
That's awesome.
just became successful with that right away.
So when you say
That's
it can go bad, do you mean with the coaches, with potentially developing an eating disorder through that?
Yeah. Hormones can go bad just
Mhm.
because they get thrown into competitions and coaches are like, hey, let's diet down super fast, or
Mhm.
they don't teach you how to come out of a competition. And so your hormones can go bad there. Performance enhancing drugs,
Mhm.
they're just young in the mind still.
Yeah.
I'd like to say even at 19, 20, 21 years old, these young girls, still
Mhm.
beautiful bodies, but they're told like, hey, you can make it just a little better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I had that knowledge just because of gymnastics. They're like, you're not allowed to use performance enhancing
Mhm.
drugs. At 13, I was told that. I'm like,
Wow.
okay,
Mhm.
not a problem.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need it. But
Yeah.
so yeah, it turned out perfect for me. Just the
Mhm.
very first day I walked into a gym. So
That's amazing.
Wild.
yeah, that's what I say. Right place, right time.
Mhm.
That's always been my life. So
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
how that worked out.
yeah.
So how long were you with that first guy that you said, the first coach? Was it very short-lived before you're
very
like,
short-lived.
no?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was pretty raunchy in a way.
Mhm.
So it was like maybe 3 months.
Oh,
And I
okay.
was like, no way. Then I was thrown into another coach who I did follow through with the whole competition with.
Mhm.
He was great. He was a good guy. But he didn't help me come out of my competition. So that
Okay.
was the first sign for me, say, I can't. He just up and left after he had his money and
Mhm.
took me through, which I did great in. I
Yeah.
think I took second at that competition against women who've been building for a while.
Mhm.
And then started coaching gymnastics after that, again, because my therapist was like, hey, you need something else still too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I love gymnastics still. So I
Yeah.
started coaching. And through coaching, I met another coach who introduced me to the bodybuilding coach that,
Okay.
yeah, it just all,
That's what I was
meshed
about
together.
to ask, how
Yeah.
you met. That's neat.
yeah, he's like, well, my wife does bodybuilding competitions. So do you want to go meet her coach? And I'm like, sure.
Mhm.
And I did. I was like, it's an opportunity. It's word of
Yeah.
mouth. I don't know the industry very well. So,
Yeah.
yep. And from that point on, it was game on.
That's
So.
awesome.
That's great. So we were talking about you young girls kind of getting trapped in that cycle of your body's great, but we can work
Make
on
it
it a little bit better.
Oh.
So as an IFBB pro and being in the fitness world, how do you help women recognize it's better to feel strong and be strong versus looking like tiny and skinny and
Right.
muscular? So how do you kind of shift that mindset for women into it's not necessarily about how you look, it's more about how you feel?
Well, this industry is about the way you look,
Mhm.
unfortunately. And then when I do work with women, the first thing I say to them is, you are training as an athlete right now. We're not training to be the best looking female walking on the beach,
Mhm.
right? So you just want to be, I don't know how to explain it. The best advice I can always give these ladies is, you're training to be an athlete.
Mhm.
You can't be so hard on yourself after a competition. Your body's going to have to go back to normal, healthy,
Mhm.
and strong, just like you were saying. And so anytime I have to make a correction on someone's physique, I go like, just a reminder, this is to be on stage. This is not
Mhm.
me criticizing you for your physique as a normal woman,
Yeah.
a mother, daughter, whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? I always repeat that, no matter
Yeah.
how many times I have to make a critique on them.
Mhm.
It's almost daily sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I always say it. I go like, just a reminder.
Yeah.
You have a beautiful body. You're strong, but this needs to change for on stage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because you're helping these women meet their goals,
correct,
but you're also bringing in the real world side of it of going, you're competing, so this is what we're working for.
Right.
But just don't forget, basically, your true identity is not this stage performer all the time. That's not realistic.
It's not. And it's hard. Like I said, it's after they get off stage. That's when it's hard for most women and men. My gosh. I mean, this industry is just about how you look, period. It's not how healthy you are, unfortunately. But you just have to be flawless. And so you have to remind everyone, this is not realistic. This is a sport. You're becoming an athlete. You're an elite. So then you need to go back to normal.
Yeah, that's true to think. I didn't think about, like you said, it is off of looks. That's a hard thing in your mind, I feel like, to deal with, because it's like, I worked so hard to look a certain way. I won, or I got third place because I didn't, or whatever it is, to how to navigate after, like, no, I still look good, whether I won that or not, or now that I'm not doing that, like, I'm still beautiful and I worked hard, but knowing that balance, because you're being judged based off of how you look. And I think a lot of sports, even gymnastics and certain things, dance, I know some people that did that, even after coming out of that's hard too, because I don't know if now so much, I think the culture in gymnastics is kind of shifted. But I think back then, I think they were a little bit more hard on how you looked and your body and your weight and stuff like that. And you're performing too. It's not necessarily maybe your body, but you are performing to try to like please these judges. So I can see where that would be hard to like not lose your identity in that sport or in that look, or how you're not doing it anymore and you did so long. I think that would be really hard to come out of. So I think that's awesome that you, as you're training them, you're reminding them those things as they're doing it daily, to be like, okay, but remember this, like, over and over again, because that's important, because that's not all you are. And like you said, you're training to be an athlete, but at the end of the day, after you're done with that, you're more than that. You have to remember that there's so much more than just that. This is just one really awesome accomplishment that you did, but there's more to you than that one thing. Like, you might be a mother or a daughter, or, you know, all these things. So I think that's a cool reminder that you do for them daily, to be like, hey,
it is
like,
daily.
And that's in even yourself, like, as a person, like, I have to tell myself something daily too. Like, I have to be like, remember this, or like, let's not do this today, or hey, remember, let's be a little bit more patient, or whatever it is. Like, you have to remind yourself those things daily, because sometimes those things creep in, I think. So I think that's really cool that you do that.
I'll even have them come in and look in the mirror. I go like, you need to look at yourself and tell me something you like. Because they'll typically come in and go like, oh man, I hate your lights. And then they'll like grab something.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, no, new rule. You need to come in and say something nice.
Yeah. I love that.
So.
I spent like a year or so training with you. I would just come in once a week. What is that? I can't remember. It feels like so long ago. And I remember anytime I came into your space, I just felt so much positivity and so much like love from you for what I was working towards. There was never any negativity there. It was always constant uplifting, and what do you want to work on? Let's tweak this a little bit. And so I always appreciated that, especially as a mom. And it can be challenging to prioritize my health, physical or mental. So what advice would you give to women who are moms and wives who are struggling with maybe that guilty feeling of taking that time for themselves? What would you say to those women?
Oh my goodness. Well, you have to be healthy yourself first. I mean, to be able to take care of an entire family, you have to come first for yourself. I do say that a lot. My gosh, I don't know. You just cannot feel guilty. It's unfortunately, it's not. It's you do need to. What is it? What do they say? Will you die for your children? But will you live for your children? Will you eat healthy? Will you take care? Will you train? Will you be able to pick them up or your grandchildren up later in your years? It's a hard concept to think about because it's down the road, but it may not be down the road either. It's like, so man, put your money towards your body. it's the only one you have. And if you don't take care of it, you're going to be constantly chasing for your health. So yeah,
it's kind of like make the investment now, or you're going to be making an investment later.
Right.
That's what I was about to say. Like, what do you want your investment? Like, you want to invest in your body, not, you want to invest in the health, not later on invest in trying to like
medical
trying
bills.
to fix
this thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, like live for them. Like I have some people that have told me they do certain things like, oh, I really enjoy Pilates or doing these things because like I want to be able to get on the floor with my grandkids and play with them and be able to get back up.
Yeah.
And like, so it's like the little things like that. Like I want to be able to pick up my kid or my grandkid later on down the road. And that's a good way to think about it, like long term.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that's hard. People want to think about now, but it's like, no, you're doing this for your rest of your life. It's not just for this moment. It's for you to be able to live a healthy life and enjoy it with your kids and your grandkids and go do things with them.
Right.
So I think that's a good reminder too, for sure.
And Chelsey has how old is Hexton now?
7.
That's so crazy.
He's,
little guy.
He's adorable.
Yes.
He's a great little gymnast himself, which makes sense. And I've always noticed, Chelsey, you have always prioritized your health, your physical health, which that clearly has shown Hexton how amazing his mom is, how hard she's willing to work. And so as a child, I think him seeing you put yourself through intense workouts and training and all of those things, that has obviously translated into his abilities as an athlete. So as a mom, what do you like to do with Hexton that you feel like kind of inspires him to move and uplifts him and gets him in the gym and feeling confident in there?
Oh, let's see. Yesterday, he's learning muscle ups, or he does have a muscle up on rings now. He'll let me know. But we went in and because I have the knowledge of training, but we went on just in our gym, in our house. And I had him just do some exercises to get stronger, to be able to get multiple muscle ups. And he was on it. He loved it. He was very happy. Too cute. But we do handstands because I can do handstands still. We do handstand contests at this point. I teach him. He's learning a press also. So we get to do some press work. But at the same time, also, I'm his mom. I only do it when he asks me because he can come home and be, with his family. And he can do gymnastics at home. But if he does go like, hey, mom, let's do handstands, or I want to do press work. And I'm like, okay, then we're on it. And then when my husband and I do train in our gym, he comes in and we set up his own little space, and he just does bicep curls with, the little 3-pounders or 5-pounders if he wants. But no, we're not opposed to him weightlifting. I don't think that there's a bunch of stigma about it. It stunts the growth. And I'm like, no, not if it's done correctly.
Yeah, you can do it safely.
Yeah. So,
and you guys obviously know what to do and like his limits and what he can and cannot do. Yeah.
No, he's pretty darn cute.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, it's what they watch. And so he does see us eat healthy. So it's not hard for us to get him to actually eat healthy. They do need to, you have to lead by example. It's not hard at all. So, yeah.
As I was saying, you guys actually do. You're not just saying it. You follow it up with your actions, and that's important.
Do nothing for children. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's very true.
And so everyone just goes, he's such a, polite, just gentle child. And I'm like, well, that's because how we carry ourselves too. So words do nothing for a child. You can't continue to tell them like, you can't do that. You have to show them. And it takes time. It doesn't just happen overnight. Like if I were to be like, I want to change a behavior in him. I think about it. I go, how am I going to do this in the long run? The way I respond to him saying something. But I can't get frustrated. I have to go, okay, this is probably going to take a month till he recognizes the way I'm responding to him. And then he'll do the same back to me. So it's actually, it's pretty fun. It's just like a game to me. But it is.
It's interesting when your child, like you said, is having like an undesirable behavior. Liv is fantastic. I love her. We've been having some challenges as a mother and daughter. And so this morning I was really taking some time to reflect. What issue am I having that I need to change? Because the change isn't going to come from the 5-year-old. The change has to come from the mom, the adult with a mostly fully mature brain. So what can I do?
Some days.
Some days. Not yesterday, right, Chandler? So what can I change and shift in myself? And then also, like you said, have the patience to wait for that change in them.
Yeah.
Because it's not overnight. It's not even weeks sometimes. It's months of you as the parent acting differently, responding differently, and giving them that space and that time to see the shift in you as a parent, and then hopefully match up to that change as well.
Right.
Down the line.
Yeah, it is us that has to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it took me a while to figure that out, honestly.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I feel like third kid in, I'm like, oh, I kind of know what I'm doing.
Maybe if I have another one, I'll really know.
Yeah, maybe I won't screw up that one.
I'll say nothing good usually happens overnight anyway.
No, that's true.
And if you think about anything in general, it takes time to shift those habits or shift those thoughts or see progression in whatever you're doing. So it makes sense that a 5-year-old isn't going to adjust something overnight. Right. Like you said, you have to get through that little time and
the growing pain.
Yeah, the growing pain.
This too shall pass. Like it'll get through that.
So you're coaching gymnastics now.
I am.
Yeah. So going from being the one being coached to the role of coaching, what did you change, implement, keep the same in that role?
Well, let's see. Honestly, we had a great upbringing in gymnastics. I can't complain. It made me who I am to this day. It's more the mental side of things that I work with my gymnasts. I believe that you have a healthy mind, their gymnastics is going to be good. That's the biggest thing. Even when I get to talk to the parents, they go like, why is she doing this? I'm like, it's not going to come overnight. I'm like, it's me as a coach. I'm trying to sit back and think, how can I help them mentally to get over a fear? And then the way I give corrections is just, every child is different. And so I learn every single girl that I work with. Some of them, I just have to manually help. Some of them, I, stand back and if they get too overwhelmed, I let them figure it out instead of constantly, just getting on them. Some girls just need the time on the space all by themselves. Some need a little more aggression. And it honestly comes from the parents. I learned the parents and I go, oh, this is how they live. This is how the parents talk to them. And that's how they relate too. So yeah, it's the mental side of things. And an athlete is either an athlete. Some people, it comes easy for them. Some it does not. I'm not hard on the ones it doesn't come hard on. That's the difference. If you want to be good, you can be good. If you want to work hard, you can work hard. I'm not going to make you do it. Yeah. That's the difference. I just go like, go relax for a second. Go sit down if you want to. I'm like, you don't need to do this skill. I don't need 10 repetitions. If you want to do one today, do one. I'm like, that's on you though. Do
you feel like that's a different coaching than you received as a child?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We were very much get your assignment done. Doesn't matter, what level you are, what state of mind you're in that day. But guess what? That's why I say we are so flippin' strong mentally. I mean, not much can go by me anymore these days. And I'm just like, it'll pass. So that's the difference. So it's, these girls that I work with, I allow them to think it through themselves. I'm like, do you want to complete this or not? Some of them, pretty proud of them. If they're in a strong mental state that day, they're like, I can do it. And then I can tell when they're not. And I'm like, just relax. Just let's move on to something else. Let's change gears. So that's the difference. And who knows if that's going to be a good thing in the long run or not, but hey, we'll see.
I think that I remember watching Carrie Strug do that vault on the broken ankle.
Right.
And I used to look at that and go, she pushed through for her team. She did all of these things as a positive. But now in a different mindset, I look at it and go, did she even have a choice?
No.
She didn't.
In the moment.
She had no option to do that. That was the only choice.
Right.
So I feel like in the gymnastics world, it is shifting to we can create more positive training environment because like you said, when we have mentally strong athletes, we have strong gymnasts physically and mentally.
Right. Yeah.
So that Carrie Strug moment, what it used to be is kind of tainted a little bit for me. Do you kind of feel the same way?
No, I think things just happen the way they're supposed to happen. She was right for example, the way you think of it now.
Mm-hmm.
She's just something that changed our future.
Mm-hmm.
It needed to happen. And she's the one that had to take it. That's the way I think about everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to happen the way it does happen for the future to change. So I would have done the same.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say 100% it was her force to do it.
Yeah.
Pressure,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you're up at that high level, it's like you don't want to let your team down. You don't want to let your coach down. So I think it's to me, it's still a beautiful moment because I would have done the same. So I wouldn't have done anything different.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I like that. That's a good thought process on that situation. It makes me feel better about it.
Yeah. You want to think positive.
Kind of lightens it up a little bit more.
Right. Give her some good positive credit for doing that.
Yeah.
because it was.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, like you would have done it. It's kind of weird to think. I've thought about that. I'm like, you were under that pressure. Because I don't think pressure sometimes is always like bad.
Mm-hmm.
But a good amount to where it's like she felt like she could do it. And then she did do it to be like, wow, like really give you that moment of like what you just did. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I get what you're saying with like, you hear all that come out. It's like, oh my gosh, was she forced to do it? Did she feel like she had no choice? Or was it that she felt like she really wanted to still have that moment and that she could push through it? And she had that wonderful moment because of it. I coach for a little bit and I do here and there, but it is funny shifting that mindset of having that balance of push because you want to challenge and push those kids through things. Because I look back on like my experience and I think, like you said, it shaped me. I was able to push through things. I was able to work through things. I think those things really could be beneficial, but there's also that side of things where it's like, when is it too much to where you're giving these kids these experiences that maybe later on you're having to work through? Like later on down the road as an adult, you're like, whoa, that was like too much. It's like finding that happy balance of like push and challenge, but not to where you're like breaking the child. You don't want to break them. You know, because it's a hard sport and they're more than gymnastics, football, baseball. There's these sports that like when you get to that level, there's going to have to be something to like work through and challenge you as a person physically, mentally, because you have to do it. But finding that balance, I think, is really important. And I think it's tricky when you were like coached a certain way. And again, I don't look back on my coaching experiences and think anything negative. I was very blessed and I didn't mind the atmosphere and the push and the challenge. I don't ever look back at that and be like, whoa, but everyone's experiences and how they handle things are different.
Right.
And like you said, each kid is different and that's hard and that's tricky. So I give coaches, teachers like so much praise because it's like you could say one thing to each kid and they all can respond differently. And you're like, wait a second. Okay, hold up. That worked for you, but that doesn't, you have to like go through and you're like, oh, and that kind of is stressful sometimes because then you leave and you're like, okay, well, that kid didn't handle that well. Now what do I do? And you're like, that's tricky. So I definitely give coaches so much praise and also to a little bit of grace when I think back about things. Cause I'm like, well, that coach probably was trying to figure out how maybe I handled that because it worked for her and it didn't for me. And I'm over here rolling my eyes and they're like, okay, well, I don't know. I was a big eye roller. So I admit that I was a big eye roller.
I could throw an attitude like nobody.
Kristen would do that thing. I'd walk away and she'd be like, don't roll your eyes at me. I know you are. And I'm like, I wasn't Kristen, but now I am because you just said that to me. I'm like, the minute I turn my head, she's like, don't you dare. And I'm like, fine, I won't roll my eyes. So I'm like, now I am Kristen. I'm like, you said something about it. That's fun. But I was definitely an eye roller. But I think for the most part, like all my relationships, I think back I enjoyed them. I don't know. They might think back and like, well, you're a little turd sometimes, but I probably was. Sure. But it's hard. It's tricky because each kid is different and they have different home experiences.
That's exactly
to where what they're used to or plays a role in that. But like you're like, I'm not living in it. So I don't know. So that was really cool for you to say that you kind of try to like learn the parents. And that does play a role. So that was a pretty cool, I never really thought about that. Like thinking about, okay, how are the parents? What do they do? How do they speak to them? And kind of learn that because those home environments do make a difference on these kids, of course. So
And I want their gymnastics place to even be a safe space, right?
So that's
like a fun place to be. And they're young. I'm working 7 to 9-year-olds right now. So I want to shape them and give them a happy idea of gymnastics so that they can be healthy as they go up and move on to whoever they go up to. So yeah, you're absolutely, you're correct about that. It's kind of like learning the parents.
That's cool.
Is the biggest part that I love because I see some of them out in the lobby, you know, they'll be, you know, rough with their kid. And I'm like, oh, that's what it takes, you know. All right. But I'll say it a little differently, but because that's mom and dad, you know.
You're like, I'm not going to.
But I'm like, okay, that's what it takes to get under her skin, to get her, you know, moving and motivated. Grooving. Yeah. Other ones, I'm like, oh, I need to back off.
Yeah.
Like, they're hard enough on themselves.
Yeah.
So,
I've had some parents that have said things like that. They're like, oh no, you do, and I'm like, oh, okay. They're like, oh, we don't care if you. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Well, they're like, make him climb that rope. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
I was like, sure.
Yeah. I think as a parent, it's cool to hear you as a coach saying that you respect where each athlete has come from and you try and learn how best to communicate with them. Because I don't know that was necessarily the way it used to be when we grew up. It kind of just seemed blanket across the board. This is how it is. This is what we do. So now it's cool to see the shift into the coaches taking more of a role of how can I motivate? And like you said, you're trying to turn these girls into girls who grow up and love gymnastics or are successful in whatever sport or career they choose to do.
Right. I like that you said that too. Because like a safe place, like you said, and to grow them to be better gymnasts, or better what? Like people, that's what my husband Ryan has said. He's like, this can just help you for anything. Like I want you to be, he mainly coaches boys, but he's like, I want you to be better outside the gym. Like I want you to come in here and be better as a person, like time management, like challenging yourself, like outside of the gym, like help these habits, create these habits when you're not in gymnastics, because it's not going to be forever. And some it might be through college, some it might only be through high school, some it might not even be, but it's like, I want you to be able to take what you have here and use it out and know that this was a safe place, like you said, and a good environment to be in and enjoy. But also it challenged you, but in a good, healthy way. Right. Like finding that balance of, or like you said, it wasn't just, it either worked for you or you didn't. You figured it out or you didn't figure it out. Yeah. But that kind of is, I think, changing. And I think in a good way, finding that balance of everything for sure. Yeah. And knowing you don't have to train 80 hours a week to produce stuff. Because I mean, you guys train, that's just crazy to me. Like thinking back on how many hours a week you trained. And nowadays, I don't see very many gyms.
40 hours at least.
Yeah. I mean, that's a full-time job on top of being a kid in school.
Yeah,
and
plus school,
doing other
homework,
things.
all of the extra things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have adults. They'll be like, hey, you know, we'll have just fun, simple conversations. They'll be like, hey, have you seen this movie? Or, you know, I'm like, no. I've never
like when
I never
did not have time for that.
I'm like I missed out on just silly
like
things.
Things,
riding my bicycle out in the neighborhood with kids and friends, and like I'm like nope, I was in the gym.
So do you look back on that and ever think like, wow, I wish I didn't do as much gym maybe? Or do you like really look back and okay, that's like me. I don't either.
It's one of those things. I just say, hey, you know, it was meant to be. That was my life, and I'm very proud of who I am today. And there's still more to grow, which is crazy.
So awesome. I love that.
Whatever's happening today, I'm gonna learn in 10 years down the road and be like, well, that was supposed to happen like that. And
I learned something from it.
Yeah.
And like you said, it made you who you were.
Yeah.
And you're proud of who you are. That's a really awesome thing to hear. Like, no matter what you went through, I'm here and I'm really proud of who I am. Yeah. So I'm okay with whatever happened. Even if it was hard and you had to work through it. Like, I'm proud of that because I am who I am right now and I'm proud of that.
Right.
So that's a super cool thing to hear, because I think a lot of young women and athletes in general, we were talking about this yesterday, they leave the sport or they get out of that and that's all they knew. And so their identity was so deeply like rooted in that afterwards they're like, what the heck? And so that's a hard thing for, I think, young girls. And usually in the gym world, some sport, it's like, it's going to be college. Because not very many people do baseball, football, dance professionally. That's a very small group of people. Right. So usually your career is going to end in college. And so it's like, you're young, you're going out into the world, you're trying to get a new job. It's like, but this is all I knew. This is, I went to school and I'm doing this. Right. That's a scary thing for like a 22, 23-year-old to be like, now what? So I think that's super empowering to hear, like, even after that, like, I worked through these things and I'm proud of who I am.
Yeah.
And like, there's an other side of that. Even if I went through hard things, it's super cool to hear, like, I am here, I am doing it. It looks different, or I have a family now, but I shifted to this, and that's so cool. And that's good. Yeah. Like, there's so much good that's going to come after that. Like, you're not just this one thing. Right. So that's super cool. I like that to hear.
So I wanted to talk about a little bit about the nutrition side of it, and how do you, because I know there's a lot of eating disorders that get developed through gymnastics and dance typically. So what do you do now with your girls that you feel like's different to address kind of food issues that may develop? What kind of things you say to them to make sure that they know, fuel your body, be successful, all of those things?
Oh, well, that's big, because I'm really big on that. Even the owner of the gym that I coach at, he walked by and he goes, wow, you girls have great snacks on them. But the way I did that is I started a group chat with the parents. I was very open with them, and I said, hey, listen, your daughters have some pretty sugary snacks going on. And the way I explained it to them is we don't want to change their snacks for changing the way their physique looks. But we want to change the way their mentality is. Because if you're sitting there eating a bunch of sugar during training, they'll come across like, say, I call it brain fart, where they're just like, I can't do this. It's typically they had a lot of sugar and their body crashes, and then they get emotional. So I go, we need to eat for our mental side of things and for properly fueling for gymnastics in the moment. And so I gave them a whole list of the proper things you should eat. And all my girls came back immediately, because I said it in a different way to the parents, which is absolutely the reason. Instead of telling them like, hey, you need to eat this because, you know, you're looking a little chunky, or, you know, your tumbling's looking a little heavy right now. No, I tell them for mental reasons, emotional reasons while they're in the gym. And they took to it very well. And my girls, I always get compliments from their coaches. Like, they're the most well-behaved group of girls in the gym. And I'm like, oh, thanks. They're like, yeah, again, the way you speak to them, the way they're eating, they're not having the crashes during the even competitions, which is cute. I let them eat, right? Which before, you know, you would never let, you know, your gymnast eat at a competition. And I have the only group of little girls, like, I'm like, hey, we got time. Let's go get some food. And they're over there just snacking, you know, just like, I'm like, I think it's cute. I think it's adorable. And I think even parents see it too. They're like, we love that you're doing that with them. No other gymnasts, no other coaches let their kids go eat. And I'm like, I think it's a good thing for other gyms to see too. But yeah, they all get the healthiest little snacks. And I'm like, at the end of the day, they'll eat whatever's in their lunchbox.
That's so true.
It's like, just, you know, just send them with something good that I have on the list. And they all do so good now. Not one of them brings a lollipop or fruit roll-ups anymore. So,
well, and you're showing them that, like, you can eat, but let's fuel your body to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Right.
And then when they see the benefits, like you said, like they're competing well, or they're finishing their assignments, they have the energy, they have the awareness. They're like, oh my gosh, this feels so good. This is so empowering.
And I say that. I'm like, how did you feel? Was that awesome today? Yeah. Like, that's the difference. Instead of going like, oh, you had a bad attitude today, I do the, you know, if they do something great, I go like, how did that feel?
Yeah.
I go, good job. So that's the difference. That's the patience, like we were talking about earlier with our children, right? It's like you have to change their behavior through positive reinforcement instead of constantly going like, well, you got an attitude today. So it all goes along with the food. I'm not going to lie. It changes their whole personality in the gym.
Yeah.
So
it does. It matters what you fuel your body with. And they see the benefits, and that's going to be encouraging to them. And then they have someone like you being able to be like, this is why we're doing it. Not doing it because I want you to feel like you need to lose a couple of pounds or whatever.
Never.
Like, that's not the reason. It's like, it is good for your body, and look what you accomplished. And then having the parents understand that as a big deal. Because like you said, it's like, if you put it in their lunchbox, they're going to eat it.
They will.
So and they understand where you're coming from. So that's cool to be having that you communicated that with the parent side. I think that's awesome to see, like, that relationship with the parent so they understand and they know your reasoning and your heart behind it for their kids.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I don't have kids. As a parent, that would be really cool to have that communication with you to know like what you're doing for their kids in the gym and seeing those results is really cool to be able to safely know that you're doing that for my kids.
Yeah.
So the parents feel safe.
Yeah. And to be the example of you live that every day. You eat those kinds of foods to fuel your body and your mind so that you're clear and you have a good, positive mental state that speaks so much to those girls watching you.
Yeah. It comes back to, like you said, like you're living that life.
Yeah.
And they see like what it's, you're not just like, hey, I need you to eat this. And then you're over there eating a Snickers.
Correct.
You know, so it's like, I will eat, I'm giving you the list of the snacks that I'm eating also. Like, I'm not like, hey, you should eat this, but I'm going to go over here. Not saying you can't have a Snickers every now and then, whatever. But like, you're living that and you're showing these girls that it's like, I'm doing it too. Like, I'm not just telling you to do it.
And they believe it.
Yeah.
They absolutely believe it. I'm not just over here making things up just to get them to eat that.
Yeah.
But you know, it was so sweet as during Christmas, they got me a protein shaker. Because 100% of the time, unless I, fluke out and forget it, but I have my protein with me.
Yeah.
I carry, they bring their water bottles. I bring my protein with me because I can't go 3 hours without eating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to have something. But either way, I didn't realize it. But apparently it's just something they all latched onto and saw. And the parents did the cutest thing. And they had all the girls write their names on a piece of paper. And one of the moms is able to, I guess, do like vinyl cutouts. And so she put all their names on a protein shaker.
Oh, that's cool.
And that meant a lot to me. I don't think they even get that. But it was the
Yeah.
fact that they notice that's something that I do every single day. I don't have an energy drink in my hand. And if I do bring a snack, it's like beef jerky or cheese or something. Like you said, I do the same thing they do. But I thought it meant a lot to me. And they don't even know that. I was like,
so
how cute is
sweet.
that? I was like,
That's
you
really
guys
sweet.
see? I was like, I really did want a protein shaker.
You're like, oh my gosh, thank you. This
I was
is
like,
great.
I'm always losing them. So it's like, well, thank you. So
That's
That's
other
so
than that,
special.
Yeah.
And those
so
kids
they did see it.
and that shows you kids do watch and they notice and they see things, good or bad. So that's so sweet that they're like, that's what she wants. Like, we know we see her with one every day that we know that's something she'll use.
Yeah, that is
that's
really
cool.
special.
That's
I love
awesome.
that. I'm just thinking of this little group of girls growing up with you and having you to turn to as they get older and just the positive experiences that they're going to have with you. I just, as a parent, to have any other adult genuinely invest in your child is so cool.
It's such a blessing.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking of like how lucky these girls are to have Chelsey Coleman be their like example and beacon and light. And those parents are so lucky to have you guiding their children through their
because they're not
going to
forget you. Like, because we haven't forgot any of our coaches. Like, they're not going to forget you.
No.
So it's like, no matter how young they are now, like, they're going to have that to
They're
carry
so
in those
lucky,
memories. So that's
I'm
so
jealous
cool.
of them.
Yeah, right? Like, darn it. Let's go back and train.
Let's go back. We'll come in.
We could try XL.
We're probably
we could
at
do
a 7-year-old level right now.
Well,
anyways.
that level they can pick. We could pick what we could handle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
we
right.
got this.
You are correct about that.
I do have random dreams, like as me, as an adult, like doing a comeback.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the gym. It's always Desert Devils, which is funny.
Yes.
And I'm always there. And it's like my coaches that aren't, well, I guess they do still coach down, but like coaching me as I'm a 32-year-old. And they're like, let's do it. I'm like, why are you letting me do this?
Yeah.
Now you're running down the runway. And I'm like, I can't even run.
And I think,
My
I just
knees
had a
would
baby
break.
or I'm still nursing, but I'll do my best. Like, is it safe?
Yeah. Oh
I
my
still
gosh.
have those
Still
dreams.
having at least once a week. I'm having gymnastics dreams all the time.
That's so funny.
Probably because I'm still coaching too.
Yeah.
Though.
You're still around
But
it.
still around it. But man, I think my latest one, I did a beautiful vault. I was like,
wow.
Because I just, no training, nothing. I just walked in. I was like, boom, did it.
That's
It
amazing.
felt exactly the same as when I was an athlete. Like just the punch,
I
the
love
block,
that.
everything.
Yeah.
I was like,
So funny.
wow.
That's great.
I woke up and I was like, I felt that.
That's
That's so
awesome.
funny.
Mine are the opposite. I fell.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do like a round off to save my life. So
Yeah.
I love that you have
Oh
the
my gosh.
successful,
Yeah.
like, awesome feeling. Mine are a panic of like, where are my kids? I can't do this. Why am I here? I'll do my best.
Mine are normally like that too. Like I'm running down the runway, or I'm not running fast enough, or I can't run, or I'm trying to do like a pirouette on bars and my body's like not moving.
Yeah.
Or Kristen or someone's like yelling at me, or like, why are you here? What are we working on? I'm like, I don't know why I'm here. I'm like on beam, like trying to do a leap and I can't.
Yeah.
She's like, we got to work on that. But a couple of weeks ago, I had one that I did bars and I was like doing it. And I woke up and I told my husband, Ryan, I was like, I actually had a gym like dream and it was like successful. Like my body actually did the skill. And he was all, wow. And I was like, it was kind of nice. Cause I was like, usually it's like, I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, is this like
panic
trauma I didn't know I had? I'm like freaking out about doing a leap, or I'm like, why am I here? Like in my head, I'm on beam and I'm like,
I can't.
Why am I here? Like I'm 32 and I'm really trying to do a comeback. And it's always funny because the coaches are coaching me like normal. Yeah. I'm like, why are you
like they're
coaching
not
me?
acknowleding I'm
like,
30. I just had a baby.
Like, go home. Like,
that's so funny.
Why are you paying me to coach you?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I don't know. Good question.
That's so funny.
I'm like those dreams. That's so funny. But I had my first successful like bar.
Good for
fun.
you.
Yeah,
I'm inspired. I'm going to change my dreams. I can do it.
Like, I could do this. And I woke up thinking, let's go train again.
Yeah.
Actually, I did. So we have an adult tumble class at my gym Tuesdays and Thursday nights.
Really?
And it's so fun to like watch so many different types of people come in, like whether they've done it before. Or, like I had a couple girls come in the other day and go, so I've never done this before. I have no idea what I'm doing. Is that okay? And I go, yeah, you're not the only one. And they're like, will there be a coach? I'm like, there will be a coach. I said, but it's not anything like super crazy or structured. Like you work on what you want to work on. If you want to start with forward rolls, let's start with forward rolls. We'll get you a cheese mat. Like you're fine. And she's like, okay. And then one of the girls goes, I want to be the next Simone Biles. I said, well, good luck with that. Let's all, I said, don't we all? I don't think anybody, that's going to be a while before we find that one, but well, all right. And she started laughing. She's like, that's my goal. I said, well, let's get to working. So I told Ryan, because those are the nights that like I work. I'm like, I really need to go in there and just like do something like that. I'm like, I don't know, it might make me feel bad about myself, but I'm like, I need to go on there and swing on like the strap bar or something. Like,
absolutely.
I'm like, last time I did that, head to toe sore.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like,
I was going to ask, do you do anything in the gym?
Giants.
Like, do you get on a strap bar every once in a while? Or
not now. Like 15 years ago, I coached at the same gym. I did do a Tkachev for fun.
That's impressive.
And it just, muscle memory just popped right back in. But no, the other day I did do a cast handstand on bars.
Wow.
And it just popped right up. And I'm like, well, hello.
Still got it.
See, I think
I won't do anything that my knees, my hip, because I had hip surgery too, right? So, and then my back is like, no bueno.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
I think my muscle memory of things is there. It's the strength. I don't have that strength that I did. Yeah. But like my muscle memory, like I think I could do a lot of things based off of that. I don't want to do anything that I have to I'm like, I can't land on my knees anymore. I'm like, I will do that, but I don't want to land. Like I would do the back flips, but I'm like,
I can still visualize it and feel it in my body.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Yeah. Our
but I'm
bodies
like,
are
but I don't want to
impressive,
land on my knee.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh my God, just the thought of it makes me cringe.
And before we officially started recording, Chelsey was telling us about her knee injury. So you had how many surgeries?
7
surgeries.
On the same knee, right?
7 on the right one on the left. Then hip surgery. That was a pretty large one.
Shoulder?
And then I had shoulder surgery. Yeah, I'm toasted.
Yeah. Is there anything in like that you can do now to prevent that for other girls that wasn't implemented when you were younger, or is this just the nature of the sport?
There's nature of the sport in there for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if like say for example, you take a girl all the way through to college, she's bound to get an injury.
Something, yeah.
But I do, as a personal trainer, I put that knowledge towards my girls' training now. I don't just do strength training just to do strength training. I have it specifically put towards skills that they need. I don't make them do squats up and down. I don't make them do frog jumps, because nothing in gymnastics do your hips drop below your knees unless you're dancing.
Yeah.
So that can maybe keep their knees a little bit more longevity.
Yeah.
When it comes to bridges and stuff, we do active bridges. I don't make them just sit in it to where their spine is getting crunched constantly. When it comes to like, say, vault, we do pure sprint stuff, like just like hopping, things like that, because you need the fast twitch movements. Like I said, I don't make them do big squats to make their legs stronger. They don't need that. They just need to be fast. And then, a whole lot of core training. Not silly core training where I'm getting their hip flexors so strong that their backs are getting pulled. It's purely core. So front, side, back, all that kind of stuff. V-ups I actually do limit. Even leg lifts I limit because like I said, that's more hip flexors than it actually is core training. And that's where backs get pulled and back injuries happen. So yes, I am doing preventative strength training. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm really honestly testing it. So
like you said, being in the sport for so long, something like this,
it's bound to happen.
You're doing dangerous stuff too. So like things just happen.
Yeah, they just happen.
But like you said, you're training their body for like longevity. Like let's get your body healthy for like long term. Not doing
and
stuff
to the
that's
specific
not needed.
needs that gymnastics calls for, not just like you said, training to train.
Correct.
That's really cool.
I'm not trying to just make them tired. Everything is specific. And truthfully, rope climbs, again, when do we ever like do a full pull up on bars? We don't. So I let them do rope climbs because it's gymnastics. But we do so many handstands. So many plank holds, reverse planks, presses, hands. Like I said, on our hands all the time. So that's the difference. Because look, you're on your hands in gymnastics constantly. No other sport is, I don't think, is like that, right?
No.
So
gymnastics is its own thing.
It
for
is.
sure.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Hands and feet quick.
Okay, so my final question. If you could share one powerful message with women who are feeling stuck, whether in their fitness journey, self-confidence, or personal growth, what would it be?
One day at a time. It is absolutely one day at a time. One step at a time. Give yourself grace. You're not going to be perfect every day. Just as long as the next day you have the idea that you want to do better than the day that you messed up. Just continue moving forward. It's, you just give yourself grace. Move forward. You can't give up just because you have a bad day. So, and it could be a bad week too. Nothing wrong with that. You just start over again. I mean, for example, all the injuries I've had, because my life is fitness, right? My job, all the injuries I've had, it doesn't even bother me that I have to get surgeries because I know that I'll come out on the other side strong or even stronger. So you have to go through hard times to be able to understand that it's okay on the other side. So, and it is possible. So, but I guess life goes on. If that's my advice, always know there's always the other side. You just have to walk through it. And then the more you do that, that's why when I go through hardships, I just go like, it's people who like, you just don't even show any signs of it being troubling. I'm like, because I know I'm like, this is temporary. I'm like, if I sit and dwell in the moment, it's not going to, what's the point?
What's that going to do?
What's it going to do? So no joke. Something's going to happen again. I'm going to use the same concept, and it could be a day of pain. It could be a month of pain. Who knows? So, but at the end of the day, just move forward and smile. Do
it with a beautiful smile.
Do
like
it
Chelsey.
with a beautiful smile on your face.
I
And
love
treat people nice.
Yes.
So,
There you go.
through those times.
Yes. I love that.
Like the one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I've been hearing that a lot within this last week, just about things in life. And I'm like, I really like it because it's true. You don't know. You can't even focus on what's going to happen next. You don't actually know.
You don't know.
Like literally today's all you can. So it's nice. It's like one step at a time. You make it through today and you can adjust the next day if you need to based off of whatever's going on. So I'm like, all you can do is one day, one step at a time.
I love that. Well, thank you for joining us. That was incredible and so much fun.
Our first guest.
Our first official guest.
I didn't know that.
Well, there you go.
Well, it was sweet to hear you guys' words towards us ladies and gymnasts and stuff and looking up to us. I guess we don't hear that, right? No, that was a nice surprise. Thank you.
Of course.
Well, thanks for listening, and we will see you guys next week.